guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. If you are a returning subscriber, if you are brand new, welcome. I hope you will consider subscribing and liking this video. If you have a little laugh, if you have a little like aha moment, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing my first ever story time. I am excited to tell this story because it is in the past and I'm over it, but at the time I was definitely not over it. So I'm hoping that you guys will enjoy the story. I want to share some of these stories. I think it's important for a lot of younger girls. I don't think everyone who is young necessarily doesn't have the mindset to be in a positive relationship. But I know for myself, when I was in my 18, 19, 20 realm, where I'm now kind of becoming an adult, I did struggle a bit with understanding what true love is or how to be respected in a relationship. And I kind of got this idea from my nail tech. She does great work. She is younger than me and she speaks of her boyfriend so highly, and they have so many dreams, and I'm so happy for them and I hope everything works out. But I just, every time she says something, I cringe a little bit because my mind's like, oh no, like just be careful. It's kind of like you want to warn someone, but I can't warn you to something that I can't say 100% is going to happen. So that's where this story time journey has come from for me. I have decided that I will share some of these story times. It has been a very long time since these things have occurred, so I feel like it is a safe zone for me to share, and it's my experience that I had from my end. I won't be sharing other people's personal business because that's theirs to share, but I obviously did experience this, so I will be sharing that part of it. So let's get some names going so we can definitely let the story flow. As you can see by the title, the story is of the first time I went on vacation with my boyfriend and his family, technically. Well, actually no, the first time I went on vacation with my boyfriend and his family. So we had vacationed ourselves before, and those are some interesting story times as well. But this one is going to focus on the fact that I went with his family and him, obviously, and we went on vacation. So okay, I have decided that I'm going to be calling him Leon. For some reason, I was trying to figure out a name to call him, and yesterday I watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, so he's going to be Leon. So we'll be calling my ex-boyfriend Leon. I don't know if I clarified that in the beginning. My ex-boyfriend, he is not my current boyfriend or husband. He is my ex-boyfriend. So we're going to be calling him Leon, and I will be myself. And I'm just gonna call his sister Sis because I still love her till this day. She is the best, and she's just amazing. So I have no beef with her in this story. The beef only comes from Leon. Okay, so the time frame, I am in college. I am a freshman in college. If not a freshman, I'm transferring in the transition to becoming a sophomore, but I am definitely 19, and so I believe I was a sophomore, but I am a sophomore in college. I've been dating my boyfriend Leon at the time for maybe 2 years, maybe a year and a half, so it wasn't like we were brand new or anything like that. Leon is someone who was really into the devil's lettuce. If you know what that is, then comment below if you know what the devil's lettuce is below. That's from a movie. And if you know what movie that's from, also comment that below. But Leon was very heavily into the devil's lettuce. And I like to think for this time frame of my life of dating him, because we were together for 3 years basically, I like to think of that time frame of my life as, yes, we had some good times, but the times that we didn't and I should have probably left, I was probably getting a contact high from Leon's, what do we want to call that? Recreational activities. So I would like to say that that has something to do with it, and that's what I'm sticking with. So Leon liked to participate in a lot of recreational activities involving the devil's lettuce. So that meant he spent a lot of money. So that being said, he did have a job, so I'm not saying he didn't have a job. He lived at home. He's 19, with, no big deal. We had lived on campus prior to him moving back home. This was when we were in college. We met in college, so we lived on campus, and then he transitioned to moving back home, and then I also transitioned to transferring colleges. So that kind of, everything kind of ended up us being me visiting him there, I would say, staying over and things like that. His family is great. I love them as well to this day. I think they're amazing people. It's just sometimes shitty things happen with your children that you can't help. I mean, you can't really help how your kid comes out, but you can only hope that you'll do everything that you can to make them a better person. But at that time frame of his life, I don't want to say he's not a good person, but at that time frame of his life, he definitely struggled a lot with being a good person because he was so into the devil's lettuce and so into wanting to get that and not always having the means to do that. So he did drive a very nice car, which was a luxury car, so it did cost a lot of money to put gas in it and take care of it and all that kind of stuff. So his money did go in other places, and we did basic teenager stuff. We bought a lot of food, we went out to eat, things like that. So he, in that sense, I don't have any issues with that. So just needed to give a little background to the fact that that was something that he was really heavily into, and the fact that financially he always found himself struggling to buy more of that because he was kind of having that addiction to it, and he wanted to buy more and more and more of it. So it kind of became a norm where I would get out of work or I would get out of school, and he would get out of work and either pick me up somewhere, or I would meet him at his house and he would go pick this stuff up and come back home, and we'd eat something, and he would have his recreational activity, and we'd watch movies. Like, that became almost like an everyday thing. And so at the time at 19, I didn't really think that was that big of a deal because I personally didn't do that, and it didn't really bother me that he did because that's your personal choice. My mom would always kind of tell me, like, that's a bit much of the fact that you need to do that every day. And at first I was like, no, he doesn't need to do it every day. He's just choosing to do it. Like, that's what he wants to do because, you're 19 and you're in love. And how dare you say something about my significant other who I'm so in love with. And I'm sure if you are either new to a relationship or younger, that might be something that you're feeling right now. They can do no wrong, and they're just so perfect, and how dare you even think that they breathe wrong. They can do wrong, and they're not perfect. So that's important to remember. So anyway, so that backstory is very important because that leads into the events that will transpire moving forward. So the time comes where I think it might have been for spring break, and his family decided they wanted to go to Florida, and they had a timeshare in Florida, which I was excited about because I love Florida. I love Disney World. I love Universal. I love I love Orlando, I should say. I love Disney World. I did the Disney College program, and I actually have a story time about that as well. It's one of the best things that I've ever done, and I don't recommend, I do recommend it. I don't regret it. It's one of the best things I've ever done, so I definitely would, if you have the opportunity to do the Disney College program, I would say do it. And if you don't like it, you can always leave. But I would say do it because that's an opportunity that you don't always come by. I mean, unless you live in Orlando and you can just apply to work at Disney World. But it's definitely a great program. So another story time for that another time. So his family decides that they want to go to Florida. I'm not sure if he had presented the idea to them, like, we should go to Florida, because we really wanted to go to Universal. And so we were kind of like, how are we going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Like, we could just go by ourselves. But then his sister wanted to go, and she was going to be on spring break. And again, I told you, like, I love her. So I was like, yeah, like, she's definitely coming. So I guess it ended up being a family trip. So I can't remember if either we had said we should do this, or they had said let's go to Florida, and we were like, of course, let's go to Universal, let's this, that. So they had this timeshare there. So I'm not sure if you guys know how timeshares work, but I didn't know this. I thought a timeshare meant that you paid a fee yearly, and then you just go whenever you want, and you've already paid for it, so you just go whenever you want. But apparently there are certain times of the year that you can only go, or certain times of the year that I guess you agree to. So that wasn't that time of year that they had agreed to go to the timeshare or something like that. So therefore we still had to pay some out-of-pocket costs, even though it was definitely less than it would have been, if you just went on your own. It was something that we still had to pay out of pocket. And I really enjoyed the place that they took us to. I ended up going back there later on to stay with my family, and I really like it. It's a villa in Orlando, and it had a lot of amenities. There were a lot of different pools. There was a lazy river, lots of restaurants. So it ended up being a great experience there. I enjoyed my time, but then again, right? So we decided we're going to do this trip. And so at the time, he had worked for a certain airline. I'm not naming the airline, but he had worked for a certain airline, so he was able to get discounted tickets for his family and for the trip. So we were able to do that. So some of the tickets actually ended up being either business class or first class, and he hadn't informed me of that. So I wasn't aware, like, to fly in business or first class when you're flying. I mean, when you're flying on your own, you can do whatever you want, but when you're flying with someone who works for the company, they want you to dress a certain way. They want you to dress, like, you want to look better. And I'm ready to go to Florida, so I'm like, let's go to Florida and just be Floridian style and flip-flops and stuff, and they wanted us to dress up a little bit. So I ended up having to borrow some of his sister's clothes to wear, like a blazer and a skirt. So I think I had a blazer. She gave me like a skirt and some flats and stuff. So again, sweetheart, thank you for that, sis. You're the best. So we decided we're gonna go to Florida, and he's gotten these tickets. The tickets are, some of them are business class to go, I believe. And what happened was, I was working at the time as well, and obviously I'm going on this trip. I'm not expecting to be taken care of or for everything to be covered, so therefore I was working. And also my mom, I had a great mom. She loves me and I love her. Thank you, mommy. She did give me some money for the trip as well, so I was giving the money to him to then in turn give to his parents. Okay, so remember that. So I worked my part-time job, I went to school, and plus I had my mom who would give me some money because she's a great mommy. And if you have teenagers and you don't want to give them money because you think you're a horrible parent, I said it, you need to make sure you still take care of your kids. Thank you, mommy. Because college is hard, okay? And you're working and you're tired and you want to buy nice things and you also want to have fun, you know? So it's hard. So anyways, I said anyways like 3,000 times. My point is, some of you are like, no, you need to work. Your kid can definitely have a part-time job. I've worked since I was 14. I got my first job at 14. And so it's not a handout that you're looking for, but I think it's important that you know that you should support your kids. And if you have to question yourself about that, you yourself probably struggled, and then you want your kid to experience a similar struggle, which I don't get, but that's a different story for another time. So, okay, right. So let me get back on track. So the storyline, we're going to Florida. We're going to Orlando. We're staying in a villa, which is their timeshare, but we have to pay some extra out-of-cost pockets. And this villa is not an all-inclusive resort or villa, so therefore you still have to pay for food when you get there. So I have been giving him money. I gave him money for my tickets to Universal. I don't think we went to Disney. I could be wrong. I don't remember us going to Disney because I love Disney so much. I think I would have remembered that. So I don't remember us going to Disney. I remember us going to Universal and Islands of Adventure. I remember us doing like bowling, and we went to the pool and stuff like that, but thank you, Chuck. I don't remember us going to Disney at that time. But anyways, basically, whatever theme parks we had went to, I had given him the money for my tickets for the theme parks, which we then bought. I had given him money for my portion of the hotel. I think I said I was gonna pay like $200 or something like that. And then I'd given him money for what I had considered was enough for food. I think we'd went for like a week. So I'd given him money for that. So I'd given him probably a total of maybe $650 to $800. I can't give you the exact number because, again, that was a really long time ago. But definitely in the hundreds of dollars realm after we had paid for the tickets. Because either they had purchased the tickets and it was like a joint thing on a credit card or something like that, but after paying for the tickets, there was definitely like $600 or so left, where I felt like, okay, I had given my portion, so when we got there, everything was kind of like handled and I didn't have to worry about it. Okay, so the time comes, we're ready to fly. I didn't know that we needed to dress up, so his sister had to lend me some clothes. We dress up, we go to the airport, we get on the flight. The flight was nice. Actually, the flight was nice, but I had a horrible time because I fell asleep, and then they had served food and nobody woke me up. And, you know, great boyfriend, nobody woke me up and nobody saved any food. So when I did wake up, because we were in business or first class, I can't remember, I think it was first, we could just request the food, but they had saved like this it was like a roll that was like left out for a week because it was so hard, and like one like piece of egg because they were kind of like, oh, we're out, sorry. But I think they did that because they knew these were buddy pass seats, so I think they did that on purpose. Anyway, so that part of the flight wasn't fun, and I also was really mad because no one woke me up. So I was like, what kind of thing is that? I mean, like, I understand his sister and the rest of his family were on the other side, but he was right next to me. So I felt like, you didn't even say like, oh, hey, let me save some for my girl, or can you leave one for my girl, or just tap me and wake me up. But nobody woke me up, so I didn't get to eat on that thing, right? So remember that I didn't get to eat. So we get to the resort. They're really nice. We check in. Oh no, I think we had a shuttle or something. We took a shuttle, or did we rent a car? There was a mode of transportation. That's what's important. We get to the hotel, we check in, they tell us where our room is. So it ends up being not really a villa. It ended up there were villas on one side, which we had stayed in before in a prior vacation, but there were like apartments. I'm calling it an apartment section where there were floors and you had a room on that floor, but the room was almost like you had the whole floor. So you had maybe like 6 bedrooms and a washer and dryer and a living room. So it wasn't just like one hotel room. So we get there, we check in, we're like, where are we going to stay? Whose rooms? We're going to go, whatever. When we checked in, they had offered us to do a program where they were going to give you free tickets to Disney and Universal. And basically, that's when they give you the timeshare spiel where they try to tell you, you should get a timeshare, you would save this much money, blah, 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 blah. And then they entice you with these free tickets, but they really do want you to sign up for the timeshare. And so his parents had agreed to do it, even though they had already had the timeshare, they wanted the tickets, which I don't blame them, but he also said we were going to do it. So I was like, okay, great. Like, we can do that. And then we can use the tickets for another time that we come. So, right. So he agrees to this, but it was kind of like you schedule it like during your trip because they want you to kind of like enjoy the amenities of the resort and before, kind of like to sell you on the trip. So, right. So we get there, and remember, I hadn't eaten on the plane, so I was so hungry. So I was like, oh my god, like, what kind of restaurants do they have here? Are we going to eat? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? And I didn't really have excuse me, I didn't really have so much money on hand because I had already given him so much of my money that I was like just covered in the fact that when it's time to eat, we'll just eat. And and me knowing the fact that I didn't give them thousands of dollars, I don't eat like seafood, so I'm not ordering lobster and I'm not ordering a porterhouse steak and stuff like that. Like, I'm really basic. I want a burger and fries. Like, I don't really care for too much craziness. I mean, like, I eat pasta and stuff like that, and I'm Caribbean, so I eat roti and I eat sushi and stuff, but they're not having that at the resort in Florida. So a burger and fries is probably gonna cost you like $9-10, maybe at that time. Now it's probably like $14, but at that time it was like $9-10 for a burger and a side of fries, and I drink water, so it's not like I didn't really want a soda. I didn't remember this and that. Anyways, so I was like, oh, I'm so hungry, we're gonna eat. And so he was like, yeah, we're gonna eat, like, relax, like, we just ate kind of thing. And I was like, you guys just ate? I didn't have anything. Like, nobody woke me up. I had a roll and a leftover dry piece of egg. I was so hungry, and I kept saying that. I remember that because I was hungry, and I don't know about anybody else, but if you're hungry, I'm gonna keep saying, I'm hungry. I kept saying, I'm hungry, whatever. And so at that point, his sister was like, oh my god, like, relax, like, we're gonna eat, like, calm down. And I'm just like, everybody's so calm because they have all eaten, but I have not eaten. So then I believe we went to concession area where you could get some stuff or whatever. So we did that, and I got my burger, and I was fine. Boom. That was day 1. Then day 2 comes along. I think we went to Islands of Adventure first, or Universal first. So we went, we had a great time. We took lots of pictures, and we had so much fun. We took all these pictures, and then we went to eat at Universal again. And remember, I didn't have my discretionary funds. I gave my funds to them. So it's like, oh, like, what are we gonna eat, blah, 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 blah. And then it was kind of like we were all eating together. And so, like, his mom would just say, like, let's say she's gonna get 6 burgers. But then I'm like, I don't like certain things in my burger. So it's like, I don't want this, I don't want that. And my husband makes comments about that now. Like, I'm so, like, I want this, I want that. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. Like, nobody yells at Beyonce to tell her that's what she wants. Somebody yells at Michelle Obama and says, they just get it. So leave me alone. Okay, leave me alone. If I don't want something, I'm not gonna eat it, and I don't think that's fair to make somebody eat something they don't like. So I was very picky in terms of, like, I just want a plain cheeseburger. Instead of me saying, like, I want this and I want that and I don't want this, I just took a plain cheeseburger. And so that was fine. It was this, like, that was lunchtime, and then, like, dinner time came around, and I think at this point I wanted, like, chicken or something. I don't know what it was, but it was a little bit more money. And I started getting side eyes. Like, I started getting like kind of like, you sure that's what you want? And it's like, I'm gonna make it up. Like, let's say I could have gotten something that was $12, but this might have been $23. Like, you know, sometimes you go out to eat and you might get that one item that's like $11, but then you might get the item that comes with a side of veggies and I don't know, a dessert, and that ends up being like $30. It was something like that. I can't remember 100% exactly what it was. I just remembered on that day I started getting side eyes. So I was like, okay. So I'm kind of like texting my friends and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but like, I wanted to order this and people were kind of looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, I know everybody was hungry because it was dinner time. Is it because it was a lot of food? Like, I was confused. So they're like, I don't know, like, that's weird. You know, like, my friends are texting me and I'm texting them. So boom, we have a good day that day. We go to the next day to Universal Islands, whichever one we went to, and we're riding everything. It's great. So they actually have an option where you can buy a pass where you can skip the line, and we were thinking that would be so cool. So I was like, oh my god, we should do that. Like, we have extra stuff. So his sister was like, yeah, we should do that, and their parents were not feeling it because it's like $150 per person. And so I was like, oh, well, like, maybe we can do it and then we can take turns. I don't really know what the rules are for that because we never got to do it, but I'm sure there are rules. We just saw people had these kind of like Gigapet. I don't know if you ever had a Gigapet. It's like the little machine, Tamagotchi kind of toy thing. They had like these Gigapet things around their neck, and they were just kind of like pressing something. That's how long ago this was. They were like pressing something and going, and then they were like taking it off and giving it to the next person. So I said, oh, maybe we can do that, and we can like get 2 of them, and then we can trade off with your sister or if your parents, because they weren't really riding that many rides anyway. And so his mom was like she wasn't really interested. His dad definitely wasn't interested. And then he was kind of like, nah, forget it. Like, they're not gonna do it, we're not gonna do it. So I was like, why would we? Like, we have like if I gave you like at least between 6 and 8. So I'm gonna say, let's be fair and say 7. I at least gave you $700. And it's for 5 days of food. I know burgers do not cost that much. And that's for, the ticket was like $200. So this $500 is left. And we can, like I'm saying, we can do each of them for $150. That'll be $300. You also have to put in your own money. So it's not like you're taking my $300 from the 5. So I was just confused. I was like, okay. So then I left that alone. So then we went on to doing something at the resort the next day. Like, we were at the pool and we were doing something, and his mom decided, like, we were sitting at the pool, so people were ready to eat, right? So his mom decides we're going to get lunch, right? This is where things start getting interesting. So his mom decides that we're going to get lunch, and we're at the pool. So we're sitting at the pool. We're out, like, there's like a hammock. It's so fun. And she goes and she gets lunch, and she said she was going to get chicken wings. So we were like, oh, great. And everybody was kind of like, oh, actually, you know what? It was just me, her, and his sister. It was me, his mom, and his sister. No. Yes. Me, his mother, and his sister. And so it was just the girls, and we were at the pool. And she said she was going to grab some food. So I was like, oh, okay, great. What are you going to get? And she said she's going to get chicken wings. So I was like, oh, that sounds great. I'll take blah, blah, blah flavor with some fries, right? And so again, I get the side eye, like, so I'm like, again. So I'm like, you know, in the world of texting, what's going on? Why? Like, what's wrong with me saying I want chicken wings? Do people not eat chicken wings at the pool? Is it because I'm by the pool? Like, I don't know what's going on. Should I get chicken fingers? Like, I was so confused. And they're like, we don't know. Like, what's going on? And so his mom leaves and she comes back. And so, you know, when you order chicken wings, you can get like 6 pieces, 12 pieces, 18, whatever it is, right? So there are 3 of us. So, and I like to eat. And then his sister likes to eat. And his mother likes to eat. So I'm like, we're going to get a good amount of chicken wings. So his mother comes back with like 12 chicken wings. 6 of one flavor, 6 of the other flavor, and 1 fries. So I'm like I'm waiting for someone else to appear. I'm waiting for someone else to appear with the rest of the food because there's 3 of us, and her sister's not a baby. She's a teenager. I'm almost an adult, but I'm a teenager. His mother is a grown woman. So I'm like, what are we supposed to do with these 12 chicken wings at the pool at that? Like, we're swimming, you're tired, like, you're swimming, you're hungry, whatever. And so she kind of like, so I was like, oh, kind of like, I was like, oh, are you getting more later or something like that? I asked her, kind of like, are you going to be able to grab more or something? And she kind of just looked at me like, again with the side eye. So I was like, what is going on with this chicken wings? Like, why every time I ask for some chicken, it's a problem? I'm confused. And so his sister also, then she kind of looked at me and she was like, girl, like, come on. So I was like, okay. She gives me some food, gives me whatever. She gives a side eye. So I'm like, what's going on with these chicken wings? Why is it that every time I ask for chicken, it's a problem? So what I forgot to mention was, he wasn't there because we did rent a car. I forgot that we did rent a car, and he had taken the car because through the grapevine of the devil's lettuce, he had found someone in Florida to give him what it is that he needed, and he went to drive there somewhere in God knows where, Florida. Who knows what could have happened to him, and he went to drive to pick up his stuff. And so when I got back to the apartment villa situation, I was kind of like, this is what happened at lunch. Your mom, you know, she ordered this, and this is what I'm like, why would she do that? Why does she keep looking at me like that? He was like,
I don't know, like, that's crazy, that's weird, that's crazy. Like,
he kept saying that. So I was like, yeah, like, why would he's like, I don't know, why wouldn't she just order everybody their own wings? Like, that's so weird. And so I was like, okay, and I left it alone. So then the next day we had decided we were going to go bowling. And so we weren't going to go bowling until later in the day, though. So I was like, okay, great. When we go bowling, I guess we'll have dinner at bowling. And we didn't end up buying any food at the bowling alley. So I was kind of like, oh my God, like, again, I'm hungry. And so, I mean, moving forward, like, now I know to always have my own money on hand to just be ready to buy food whenever I feel hungry, because when you're on vacation, everybody feels differently and everybody vacations differently. So if you're not with a bunch of foodies who are going to just always constantly want to be trying different foods, going to different restaurants, you're going to be hungry. So I've learned my lesson, and thank you God for that lesson, because now that I'm older, I'm more prepared to, you know, oh, look, it's snowing. So right, so we decided we're gonna go bowling. I think we had grabbed some fast food that day or something like that after bowling. We're like some regular fast food, like some McDonald's or something. And so the next day, we said we were gonna have a resort day, kind of like go to the arcade, go to the pool, do all this stuff. And I'd said something in regards to eating at one of the restaurants, because they had like some restaurants were kind of like the quick and grab and go kind of restaurants, and some of them were sit down restaurants. And I'd mentioned one of them if we were gonna try one of them, and I got the side eye again. And so his mom said something along the lines of like you're not full, like something like that. And I was like, or like kind of like, you still hungry, something like that. And so I was like, something along in a Caribbean-esque manner. If you grew up with West Indian parents, my mom, she wasn't this way, but a lot of other people in our family, you know, they like to make comments about what you're eating, how you're eating, your size, etc. So I thought it was a weight thing. I thought she was trying to make a comment about like me eating too much food. So, you know, I wasn't raised in a home that I was taught to not be disrespectful. So I just said like, no, like that was weird. But I didn't say anything to her in a fresh way or anything like that. Because again, she is my elder and she's also my boyfriend's mother. So at the end of the day, I want to impress her. At the end of the day, I want to be respectful where she sees me as this just most amazing thing for her son, because I love her son so much and he's so perfect, right? Not. Right, so that she makes that comment and whatever. So later, like, we're hanging out in the villa before we go to play in the arcade, and I asked his sister, and I'm like, hey sis, because that's what we're calling her for them, like, sis, what's going on? Like, why does your mom keep looking at me like that? Like, why does she keep, like, every time I ask for something, or every time I say I want to get this, or let's do this, and then she keeps looking at me like in this crazy way, and she was like, come on, like, you know. And I was like, I know what? And she was like, you didn't give her any money for this trip. I said, excuse me? She was like, you didn't give her any money for this trip, and you keep asking for stuff. Like, you keep saying, let's eat here, let's get more food. Or like, okay, so like the arcade wasn't free and something else wasn't free. She was like, you're like, let's put more games on the arcade, the card. They had like a little arts and craft, like you could paint something. She's like, let's do that. And she's like, you keep asking her to do all this stuff and you didn't give her any money for the food. You didn't give her any money for this. You didn't give her any money for that. The only thing you gave money for was your ticket to go to the park. I was like, what in the Twilight Zone is going on here? So, you know, immediately I'm walking down the hallway. I'm going to the door, and I'm like, open the door, and I'm like, what I said I was calling him again? Leon. I'm like, Leon. Sis over here said, blah, 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 blah. He's like,
What? What are you talking about?
So I'm like, Leon, what happened to this money that I gave you? I gave you this, I gave you that. I worked this, I gave you that. My mom gave me money for the trip, and I gave it to you. I got paid before we left. Well, right before, when I gave him the money, and then I got paid before I left. So I had a little bit of change for like I told you, for my little tchotchkes and my little souvenirs from the gift shops. So, right. So I was like, "Where's the son?" And he was like,
I don't know. Why would she say that?
So he calls his sister, and he's like,
Sis, why would you say that?
And she was like, Mommy told me. I talked to Mommy, and Mommy said that you didn't. Mommy told me. She said that Jamillia didn't give her any money for this, and she keeps asking for this. And like when we went to the pool and we got these chicken wings, she was like, oh, like where's it? Like if Jamillia, like me being, I'm Jamillia, she was like, oh, like if there aren't more chicken wings, and she was like, oh, this girl asking for all this extra stuff, and she didn't give any money for this and that. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I lost it. I said, you go right now and you tell your mother that I gave you the money for this thing, and you spent the money. And I said, and you never gave it to her? And he was like, oh, how? Oh, he started making up all this extra stuff. Like, he had to do this with the car, and he did that, and he figured his parents had it, so what? And I was like, I felt so mortified, because I'm sitting here looking at this lady like, lady, buy me some chicken wings. Why won't you feed me, lady? I gave you my money. Why don't they want to feed me? Like, I would never do this to anyone. I'm like texting my friends, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm so hungry, and they won't do this and they won't do that, and they're like, what's going on? And I told my mom was like, that's so weird. She's like, go, like, she's a mom, so she's like, oh, I'm gonna send you money to get some food. I'm like, it's not even a matter of the money, because then I have my souvenir money, so I had my souvenir money, so I didn't have to use all that for souvenirs. Like, I definitely could have used it for the food, but then I felt bad because it feels awkward to kind of like be out. So let's say we're at the pool and you want to be out with other people, and like the mom is ordering like this like small amount of food and dispersing it to everyone, and then I want to like order a full burger and fries. Like, I think that just looks crazy. So I was like, I don't know what to do, whatever. So I was so mad. So I was like, oh my god, you go tell her right now, like this, you do whatever. And he was like, oh, like what's the point of that? I think we were leaving like the next day, actually. Yeah, he was like, we're leaving tomorrow, what's the point? I was like, I have to see her again. Like, she thinks I'm like this freeloading chick who just showed up and was like, oh, we're going on a vacation, let's go on a vacation, and then his parents are gonna buy me everything. And I'm like, no, my mommy loves me. She would never send me on a trip without that. She sent me with money. Boom. I also have a part-time job, so I have some money. I brought money and I gave you money. I was so mad. So obviously, if you haven't put two and two together yet, he took this money and he spent it on the devil's lettuce. He was so like, he needed, like, to the point where he was so scared about the fact that he had no connect in Florida to get his stuff from, that he was like itching, kind of like and it's so weird to me, because I know some people like consider to take that stuff medically and recreation, like it's not like a hardcore thing, but it's definitely like now that I'm older, I can understand people having an addiction to that. But I was just like, this is so weird. I was like, it's 5 days with your family. Like, why is it that you can't just, Anyways, so he didn't tell her before we left. His sister ended up telling her, and I guess she realized like, oh wow, like the girl did give the money, like me being the girl did give the money. And so like moving forward, I mean, I saw her again, I told you we were together for like 3 years, so it's not like I never saw her again. So she was still very sweet to me after that. So I guess maybe if she would have never found out that I gave the money to him and he spent it, maybe when we came back from the trip, our relationship might have been estranged, as they would say. But because she did find out the truth, she was nicer to me when we got back. I guess she might have also felt badly that she didn't buy me these other things that I did give him my money, but I didn't, because technically he spent the money on other stuff, and I still didn't break up with him after that. Can you believe that? So I remember being so upset, because I was just like, these people were thinking like I'm just here, like I had paid my portion of the room, I paid my food, and they just think I'm here freeloading off of them. And I'm like, no wonder I keep getting this side eye, because this bleepity bleep has taken all my money and spent it on the devil's lettuce. Listen, PSA, my story times are going to come with PSAs. For all of you in relationships, whether that be girl, guy, girl, guy, whatever your relationship is, make sure your significant other treats you with respect, especially financially, because if you're giving your money for something and they're taking it, that's stealing. They're stealing from you. Like, regardless if you want to act like, people think stealing is when, or being robbed is when someone that's a stranger takes from you, or when you're on the street and somebody robs your bag, or someone takes money from you in a store or something like that. You can be stolen from by your loved ones. Your significant other can steal from you. So if in my situation, I saved up all this money and I gave him the money to give to his mother because I figured that's normal. Instead of doing that, he kept the money and said nothing to his parents about it. That's stealing. He stole from me and treated me with no respect in that situation and made me look like a horrible person while he got what he needed. And so, especially if you're in a relationship with someone who has an addiction, I can't speak to a stronger substance and addiction, but I can definitely say, from me remembering those years together, I would call what he had an addiction. And when you're in that situation, people start stealing from you and they start calling you names if you don't give them the money so they can get what they need. Like, it's a very dangerous situation. It's also very hurtful. So if you feel like you're in that situation, you need to get out. Like, you need to just leave. Like, don't even try to help them. Don't try to convince them. You need to leave. And when you're on the outside, let the people who are around them, such as their family, try to get them help. If you are the only person that's around them, you try to get them help. I'm going to say no more than 2 times, because at some point you have to think of it as if let's say you're in the ocean, right? And just so you know, moving forward, when you're on this channel, I'm the queen of analogies. I like a good analogy, okay? So let's say you're in the ocean and you and your significant other have fallen off of this ship, or it has sunk. I mean, God forbid, I don't want anybody else to drown. But basically, you're stuck out in the ocean and you have this kind of like on a Titanic situation, but let's not do that. But you're in the ocean and you've got this one kind of like flotation device that's keeping you guys both alive, right? Now, if your significant other wants to keep jumping off the flotation device and hang in the water while you hold on to them, but they're also pulling you down, but you don't want to let them go because you love them, but then they get back in the flotation device. And then they do it again. They jump off the flotation device and they're, in the water, pulling you down, pulling the flotation device down, but you're holding on to them for dear life and then pulling them back in. That's a repetitive cycle where you now are putting yourself at risk in that analogy of dying. You're going to drown. They're going to drown you. If you don't let them go and let them see if they sink or swim, basically, you're going to sink. Like, that's it. So that's what I had to do. Like, it didn't happen right away, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, right after that I broke up with him. Because again, I was 19 and I was so in love, and I was just like, my brain was kind of like, why would he do that? And the sad part is I was not a dumb girl. I'm very smart. So I was like, why would he do that? Like, that's crazy. That's wrong. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't even tell my mother about it until years later because I was so embarrassed. Like, I did tell her it was kind of weird that they weren't really buying a lot of food and stuff. But, and she was just like, sometimes trips are expensive and people find ways to cut costs. But I definitely felt so embarrassed about it that I didn't tell her. I did tell my friends because they're my friends, and they were like, that's crazy, like, that's wrong. So he did try to make it up to me, like, I think when we came back home, he was really sweet, and he might have, like, I don't know, we might have went out to eat and just stuff like that. But I just remember, like, that sticking to my brain so heavily. And so, here's the kicker, right? So we finished that. This is going to connect to so many other story times too, but we finished that vacation and we come home and I post all the pictures on my Facebook of this trip because we had so much fun, even though I was so hungry. We had so much fun and we were doing all this stuff, whatever. And I post all the pictures and he finds out that I post the pictures. I don't know if he found out by himself or his sister was like, oh, did you see her pictures are so nice. And he was like, oh my God, he calls me. He's like,
why would you post those pictures? Why would you post those pictures?
I'm like, what are you talking about? And he was like, why would
you post those pictures? Take those down now. Take those down now.
So I'm like, take them down? Like, we had a great family vacation. Like, it was so nice and ba-da-ba-da-ba, you know, all that stuff. And he's like,
take those down now. You don't take those down.
He just starts screaming at me, and I start crying, right? And I'm like, oh my God. That's my crying voice. And I'm like, oh my God, he's crying, he's yelling, he's telling me to take it down. And I'm telling my friend, my best friend, I'm like, oh, best friend, he's doing it. She's like, that's so crazy. What do you? I was like, but I don't want to take it down. I mean, this is his call, and this is my best friend's call, right? So I'm like, I don't want to take it down because that looks so nice. And she was like, girl. And I was like, no, but we look so nice, and I look nice, and the family looks nice, and I don't want to take it down. And what I'm going to do? And so I sat there for like a day crying. Like, I was just crying for no reason. I don't know why I was crying. I mean, I know why now. I was just so sad because I felt like we'd come from this vacation. Everything was great in terms of like the memories and the fun, not the food part. That wasn't so great, but we had a great time on the rides. We have great pictures from this vacation. Oh, that's what we went. We ended up going to a water park. That was the other thing that we did. So no, we didn't go to Disney. We went to Universal, and then we went to like some water park that they had where, you know, you get on the tubes and go on. So that we had a really good time. So I have like, you know, you can get like the keychain and like stuff like that. So we had such a great time. So I was like, why is he telling me this? So I was like, fine. And then I started to get mad. So, you know, you go through the transition of like, you're so sad and then you're mad. So I literally at that time app that you can crop, like it was like, I wasn't into Photoshop at that point. So I wasn't like photoshopping him out because, you know, that wasn't popular. So I literally just like sliced him out of all of the photos and I reposted them. And he was like,
that was what you think that's a good idea?
Like that. And I was like in my mind, I was like, I won. It's so depressing to hear this now. Like, so, you know, when you just look back on life and you're like, I wasted so much time. Oh my God. But no, everything happens for a reason, and it's a life lesson. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say he was a horrible boyfriend 100% of the time, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I stay with him? But definitely there was more bad than good. But I learned from that, and I grew from that, and I blossomed into this beautiful woman that I am today. So basically, that's the end of my story time of the time I went on vacation. It was actually, I think we went on another vacation after that. But the first time I went on vacation with my boyfriend and his family, my ex-boyfriend and his family. And that was actually my first time going with a boyfriend and their family at all. And it wasn't a bad trip, but it was just some drama. But again, remember, you decide either you're going to let go of that person so you don't stink with them. You might have to let go of them, float over to the island, and then be like, you good over there? You alright? You need some help? You might have to do that for yourself, because there are a lot of people who lose themselves. A lot of people who lose themselves in a relationship. I definitely experienced that. And you want to be careful with, you just want to be careful with that, period. Like, there's no other part of that. Just be careful with that, because some people don't come back from that. A lot of times, like, I watch these stories about young girls who are in jail over, like, being in the car with their significant other who was robbing a store, or they did rob someone, or something, like, just some crazy stuff sometimes. And I'm like, oh my God, like, your life just, like, in a flash, boom, over. So just, you know, sink or swim. Either you're gonna let go of them and you're gonna thrive, or you're going to hold on to them. And I'm not saying 100% you're gonna sink, but most likely you will, because it's gonna take a while for them to get out of that addiction. It's gonna take a while for them to wake up and realize that they need help. That's the hardest part, is helping someone who doesn't want help. So just think about that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this story time. I hope if you enjoyed it, you will subscribe and come back. I will be doing 2 story times a month, so one every other week. And I will have other videos as well. I will be doing a lot of lifestyle stuff. I am a homeschool mom. I am a homeowner. I am a person. And a black woman. So many great things that you can come back and check out on my channel. So you can hit the subscribe button. It is free. I am on my journey to 1,000, so I can be fully a YouTuber. It's gonna make me feel like I accomplished a goal. So if you'd like to subscribe and help me out, because it costs you nothing, but it helps make somebody else's life even better, I would appreciate that. And I would appreciate if you would come back to hear more of this story time. I am going to film another one right now, so it is ready to go for the next story time weekday. Story time timing. The next story time I'm going to film it. Anyways, I would hope you guys will subscribe and come back. Let me know below if you have ever experienced anything like this. Have you ever gone on vacation with a significant other, whether it be your girlfriend or your boyfriend? How did it go? Was it smooth? Was it rocky? Let me know below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.